transition. Alright, I decided I want a nice, just a normal rounded top on this one. So I just take a marker and draw out what I want it to look like. You can do this with any shape, whatever you want your tombstone to look like. Just sketch it out, draw it on there. Alright, now that you got your basic shape drawn, I'm going to grab my trusty Sawzall. You can use any sharp knife. Electric carving knife would work great. Hacksaw, whatever you want to use. And just, plain and simple, cut out your design. Now what I do is just to add a little extra wear and tear, just kind of use my fingers and pick at the edges. Also, since older tombstones usually don't have a nice sharp crisp corner, I just kind of run my fingers along it and brush some of the foam off to round it off a little bit. This also saves time later during the sanding process. Just picking a little more off, rounding it up a little bit. As you can see, the foam already has some dents and dings in it, so that helps out a lot later. And there you have the cutout bracket. Now I just take my 300 grit sandpaper and round off the edges nice and smooth. Alright, then I just take a paintbrush and dust off all the little foam bits and pieces that are everywhere. Trust me, I'll be coughing this stuff up for weeks. You might want to wear a mask. I don't technically wear masks in Florida because it's really hard to breathe anyways. But just dust it all off. Helps keep it out of the paint later. Alright, now you decide where you want your lettering. Just draw you a nice little guideline. You can get more detailed and more accurate than this, but I kind of wanted a handmade look for this tombstone. Or something, somebody did for their friend, or, something like that. Not a professional. Then you just write your letters out. And I decided, as I was drawing the W here, that I wanted a nice center line, so I can get my letters to look somewhat decent. Now you can use stencils and things like that, but like I said, on this one I wanted it to look a little more handmade. So you just write your lettering out. This will be my tombstone dedication for Walt, or also known as Dr. Whittle, a good friend of mine there at Hauntspace. And here's the Dremel tool with the router attachment. That's just a cutting bit. A lot of times they'll use it to cut, outlet holes and stuff in walls. And you simply just go over your letters. Now, if you don't have a real sturdy hand, or you want nice straight letters, you may want to do this portion before anything else, before you attach it to a second piece, so you can have it flat on the table, and then turn it off in between letters, so you don't get the extra little notch at the top or bottom when you put it in and pull it out. But you just go over all your letters. I actually went over twice, once with a cutting bit and once with a larger have a sanding bit. It's cone shaped, and the little cone shaping of it gives it a more rounded edge. Helps with the worn out look. And this one actually made the letters wider, which helped me space them out a little bit more. Alright. Now I'm just going to add a little crack to the top here. If you hold, I've got a razor knife there. So if you just hold it at a little bit of an angle, 45, something like that. You can do this first one straight after that and just kind of make a jagged line and then pull the pieces out. Just use the edge of the knife as I cut it and pull chunks out. You don't want it to look, actually handmade. You don't want it to look like you put it in there. You want it to look like it formed itself. So jagged and messy. That's a good look. Alright, so now we're going to put on our first coat of base paint. You're going to use latex paint, something dark. Trust me, you don't want to use white. It's a hard call. A good idea would be gray. Any dark shade of gray would work great, but unfortunately I didn't have gray at this time. I had this weird mauve looking color. But be generous with it. With this kind of foam, which is the loose bead foam, that all kinds of little holes are in there, and you want to make sure you get them fill, so that if you're going to spray paint it later, which I do, the propellant from the spray paint doesn't eat away at the foam if you got it all covered. Again, this is just a regular latex paint. This is actually a primer that I'm using. In any areas that you plan on spraying with spray paint, you gotta make sure you get it covered. I was almost out of paint. You want to make sure you get inside the letters good. Just get a brush full of paint and just smear it in there. It will drip and run. But as it does, you just take your brush over everything and smooth it into the rest of the paint. Excuse me. Doing this outside in the heat in Florida helps, because it helped it dry a lot faster and get more coats of paint on quicker. It was a really windy day that day. I actually had the Sawzall resting on the back of the Tombstone so it didn't blow away. But just get your paint in all the little cracks and crevices. Towards the end, you'll actually see me using the paint almost like spackle before I actually spray paint it. And that's what the Tombstone looks like after the first coat of paint has dried. And there's our old buddy Walt's name. So hopefully this helped you, and the next one will be adding the extra details. So stay tuned.